There is two main reasons I'm sure most gamers are interested in checking out Stellar Blade, and that is of course the big, juicy storyline and the incredibly deep and appealing gameplay. For real though, I am ready to hate Stellar Blade for this reason alone. From all the previews and the trailers, it totally seems to me that this is just an excuse for fan service. And it's just one giant thirst trap to enthrall the huge group of horny and depraved gamers in the world. And yes, I'm aware how judgmental this sounds. As they say, you should never judge a book by its cover and all that. So I thought, you know what, I'm not doing much at the moment. They've just released a free demo, so let's give it a go. And I hate so much that I love this game. Yes, it has gratuitous amounts of fan service, which is neither here nor there for me, but this game isn't just skin deep. The combat system is genuinely incredibly detailed. The controls are crisp and satisfying, and I'm even pretty interested in the lore, which for people who've been longtime fans of this channel know isn't like me. Now, this isn't sponsored or a plug in any way, just my genuine opinion because I had a bit of spare time and I thought I'd give it a go. So please know it's not perfect. So let me first start by talking about a few of the negatives, and then we will end on a huge positive as I give you a whole list of things that I genuinely love about Stellar Blade. Please do note as I start to talk about the quote-unquote bad things about this game, this is all personal opinion. Some of the things I'm about to share with you, you might actually prefer, and vice versa, there may be a few positive things that I say about the game that you don't like that much. But I'm going to give you a fair and honest full overview of everything we've encountered so far so that you can make an educated opinion whether you enjoy this game, whether it's something you're going to buy if you own a PS5, or whether it's something you're going to watch your favorite content creators play. Subscribe to the channel. Sorry. So the first thing I disliked is that all cutscenes are unskippable. Hopefully this will change when the full game comes out at the end of the month. But if not, if you do like to do a few playthroughs of a game, doing challenge runs, trying new builds, it quickly becomes tedious that you have to sit through lots and lots of cutscenes, because there is quite a lot of cutscenes. The first time through, I'm glad they aren't skippable, because most of them are absolutely incredible in fact. And honestly, as I said, I'm kind of really liking the story, so making you sit through them the first time I think is great. And if you do happen to die at a particular boss or a particular encounter, when you respawn, you can then skip that cutscene. But if you start a new game, again, it becomes unskippable. So I think it would be cool if it registered, this isn't your first playthrough, all cutscenes are now skippable if you would like them to be. Next up, I wanted to talk about the RPG elements. And this is actually something that I think fans of Sekiro will really like. Unlike most Souls-likes, there is no way to level up your character. You can learn new skills and you can improve most existing skills. You can also level up your weapon, your healing flasks, things like this. But for the most part, especially with your weapon, it's done very similarly to Sekiro, where you will increase your attack power basically once per main boss. It doesn't work quite like that, but that's the best example I can give you for someone who hasn't played it, so you know exactly what I mean. There is limited leveling up, but it's just to help you scale with the game as you go along. And then, as I say, you do have the skill system, you can upgrade your healing flasks, and you can unlock new gear and armor slots. There's no leveling your stamina, your strength, your intellect. Stats in that regard do not exist in this game. And I really, really love RPGs, so I do wish there was a few more RPG elements, but what it has to offer is pretty decent. Also, tutorials are very limited and not necessarily given to you as early on as they could be. For instance, I had to find out for myself how to pick up items, and then shortly after that, in the next area of the game, it finally told me how to pick up items. And it didn't even mention the fact that there is an auto loot option in the menu, which I strongly recommend you turn on. Now, I know hardcore Souls fans will be screaming at me in the chat, we don't like tutorials, we're glad that the game makes you figure it out on your own, but at least tell me basic things, like how to pick up items and what the hell a shield does before I'm 2 hours into the game. Okay, rant over. That's kind of my only 3 big negatives from my time with Stellar Blade so far, which I personally think makes it seem really promising. Now, let me break down some of the positive points. Let's talk about the gameplay, the mechanics, the storyline, the difficulty, and of course, boss fights and enemy variety. The first big positive for me is that you get chucked almost immediately into the action, and you get to start playing the game straight away. This is very much personal preference, but I cannot stand games that try to chuck hours of cutscenes and storyline at me before I even know whether I'm going to enjoy the game or not. It stopped me from playing God of War Ragnarok, and it stopped me from playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Let me know if I enjoy the gameplay. Let me know if this feels good for me to control. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much you enjoy the story in theory, if you don't enjoy playing the game, you're not going to carry on playing it. And if that is the case, and I really care about the story that much, but I can't stand the game, I'll just watch some cutscene montages or some explanation breakdowns on YouTube. So the fact that Stellar Blade is like, here, play our game, then we'll get you interested in the story once you know you enjoy it, that's a huge plus for me. And talking about the story, I'm quite hooked. We don't know all that much right now. I'm not even sure if the main character that we're playing as, Eve, is fully human or if she's something else. All we know is she's part of an airborne squad sent back to Earth, I'm assuming to help them fight off an alien invasion. And through the various text and audio logs we find throughout the demo, there are hints that this happened many years ago, and they have arrived far too late, and humanity has all but been wiped out on Earth. And we are basically there to find out exactly what happened, mop up any baddies, try and find survivors, and generally try and restore at least some humanity to Earth. Which to me sounds really damn cool, honestly. Now, some of that information may be slightly off because we have really limited story fragments at the moment, and I'm really excited to expand on that and see exactly what's going on when the full game releases. Now, the bit that I know I would be most excited to hear about, let's talk about the gameplay and the controls. I said right near the start that they do genuinely feel really responsive, really crisp, and I mean it. Especially using the enhanced feedback features on the PS5 controller makes you feel so immersed in combat. Every parry, every strike you can feel, and it makes you so invested in even the smallest of fights. In fact, you see the yellow dots under an enemy's health bar? This is how many times you need to parry them before they stagger. And when they stagger, oh my god, the animation you do is insanely satisfying. So the more I get to grips with the combat system and the parry timings, the more I find myself wanting to do nothing but parry every enemy so I can see these finisher animations more and more frequently. Just above that, you have some blue dots, and these are represented on your own character as well next to SH, and that is the shield. Both you and basically all enemies have a shield, and you will only take chip damage whilst your shield is active. When your shield is depleted, a few seconds without taking damage and it will start to recharge, and this applies for your enemies as well. So again, in the same vein as Sekiro or Bloodborne, this makes combat very offensive and makes you really want to keep the pressure on. So if you get on with Nioh, Bloodborne and Sekiro, I'd say Stellar Blade is the most similar to them three in regards to comparisons for Souls-likes. On top of shield and stagger, you also have combos. So square is light attacks and triangle is heavy attacks. However, you can mix and match these in so many different ways. For instance, if you do 2 light attacks followed by 2 heavy attacks, you will dash forward and do a rush with your final strike. However, if you do 3 lights and then 2 heavies, you will do this powerful downward aerial attack. But combos open up so much more than that. You can do heavy light, heavy light, heavy light. That is an insanely awesome combo that I use so frequently. And you really can mix and match up to 5 or 6 of any combination of light and heavy, and every single one will do a different combo. But seriously, you can mix and match these 2 buttons to create so many different combos. And it's not just because they look really cool aesthetically, they genuinely apply to different situations. And as you unlock the skill tree, you will unlock new combos and new moves you can add in. There are many special moves that work at a certain point in the combo that will extend the combo or end in a finisher. So just the 2 basic combat buttons can open up a whole world of variety for you if you want it to. Then on top of this, you have your beta skills down at the bottom right here. In the demo, you only have the 2 to play around with, and every time you perfect parry or every time you deal damage, your beta energy increases. And once it hits a certain amount, that's when you can then use one of these skills. Again, this opens up so much more as the game progresses. Judging by the gameplay clips we got at the end of the demo, you unlock a whole new resource, and you've got 2 different energy levels you can juggle. But if you haven't played the demo yourself, and everything I'm saying sounds a little bit much, and maybe a bit intimidating, trust me, it was really easy to pick up. It's definitely going to be one of these systems that is easy to pick up, but hard to master, which I love, because it means the skill cap and the skill ceiling is basically as high as you want it to be. When someone gets good at this game, they are going to be on a whole different level, and I'm excited to get there. The combat and the gameplay and the controls are so good and so fun that this game makes you want to be that good and get to that level. Next up, let's talk about the graphics. Being a PlayStation exclusive, you don't get a huge list of graphical customization options like you might for a PC game. However, there are still more options than I was expecting, and I was pleasantly surprised by this, especially the addition of a favor performance, favor graphical quality, or balanced option. All of the gameplay you're seeing, I was running on balanced. I felt the game looked amazing and it ran perfect. There was not a single stutter or frame drop through the 3 to 4 hours I've been playing this game so far. And graphically, I do think it's a stunning game. It looks really good, and it performs really well whilst doing so. What more could you ask for? Enemy variety in the demo was also pretty good. I'd say it probably lasts around an hour, and I believe there were at least 6 different enemy types. You were being introduced to a new enemy every 10 minutes. Obviously, it's probably not going to be like that for the entire game, but the variety of enemies was truly impressive. And I found that not a single one was just a bigger and badder reskin. Actually, no, maybe one. I think there was one reskin where a normal enemy became a mini-boss. But apart from that, every enemy not only had different movesets, but you felt like you had to fight them differently as well. There was this one enemy near the end that had a huge arm that it used as a shield, and he took next to no damage when that arm was up in front of his face. So you had to find ways to get around him or wait for the perfect time to parry, to stagger him for a minute so that you could get some hits in. And I know for a fact, because of the additional boss fight that unlocks at the end of the demo, that there are moves that will teleport you behind your enemy. So when you unlock something like that, that would be the perfect move to use against this guy. There's another enemy you come across that can go invisible and moves so fast that he basically teleports around. So for him, dodging is far better than parrying, and mobility is absolutely key in this fight. On top of that, when he goes invisible, you have this little scout drone that follows you around, and if you use the scout function, it will highlight all nearby containers and enemies and stuff like that, but it will also reveal invisible enemies. So this drone actually has a combat function as well as a utility function. There is also destructible objects lying around everywhere, and some of them can even be used offensively against your enemies. You can strike flammable barrels which will set them alight, and a few seconds later they'll blow up, dealing damage to anything in the vicinity, including you. So if you're very spatially aware and use your positioning well, you can group up enemies by one of these barrels, set it alight, and then run away, and it will deal with them all for you. Honestly, it seems like the variety and the versatility, both in the enemies and how to deal with them, is almost infinite. And then we've got the boss fights. There are 2 in the main portion of the demo, and you unlock a special boss challenge afterwards as well. All 3 of them were pretty damn tough. I beat Abaddon first time, but some moments of that fight were very scary. The special challenge boss at the end took me 2 attempts, and that was only with using all of my items. That dude was a machine. And honestly, I know some people are going to love to hear this, others are going to hate to hear this, but bosses seem to have so many different moves. And until you die to them a few times and really learn to study them, some of the attacks are very hard to telegraph. This is going to be a challenging game. And talking of challenge, let me wrap up by talking about the difficulty. And I just realized as I'm saying it now, this is one thing I kind of wish I'd put right at the start of the video in the bad section, because there is an easy mode. And if you're here from my Elden Ring content, you should know better than anyone that I am an advocate for playing how you want to play and just having fun in games. But it doesn't feel like this game needs an easy mode. And I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if you choose it, because you're then just blitzing through the game and you have no need to improve, and you won't feel that sense of gratification at the end. If you really, truly cannot complete this game on the standard difficulty, I am certainly the last person in the world that would judge you for bumping that difficulty down. But it's still not something I would have put in the game personally. I just don't think it needs it. I think this game is absolutely fantastic at the base difficulty. You're supposed to die a few times. It's supposed to be tough. It makes the reward all that more satisfying. And from what I've experienced so far, every fight has been tough, but it hasn't been unfair. In fact, there was one encounter in particular. I died like 4 times before I overcame it, but at no point was I frustrated. I learnt something, I did better the next time. And that sense of achievement was amazing, and I just don't think I would have got that with story mode. But overall, so far, I have been having an amazing time with this game, and I cannot wait for the release in a few weeks. And with that, my friends, please let me know in the comments, do you have a PlayStation? Are you able to get this? If so, are you going to get it? If not, does it interest you? Will you be watching content on it? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down below. And with that said, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.